Today is Wednesday, October 9th, 2014. I'm Pamela Stern, and I'm here with Kate Petrucia in the office of Stan Weismiller of Winvan Paving. Stan, thank you for agreeing to talk to us. Did I say October 8th?
Oh,
You said
no.
9th.
I said 9th, okay. October 8th. Okay. Wonder if if you could tell us a little bit about what Winvan Paving does, how long it's been here in New Westminster.
All right. Winvan Paving is a road builder primarily focused on the manufacture and installation of asphalt pavement on roadways, parking lots, ports, airports, highways. We do concrete curb and gutter, grade work. We also do concrete sidewalks, decorative concrete work, and road building, excavation, installation of drainage, that kind of work. The company has been on the river here at this location since the 1960-ish. It was leasing the property from a sawmill at the time, and it was owned by Commonwealth Construction. And at that time, it was running as a paving company inside the sawmill operations. In the 1970s, early 70s, the sawmill sold the properties and created a subdivision, an industrial subdivision down here, at which time Winvan Paving was given an opportunity to buy the property, and it did that.
Okay.
When you say like operating within the sawmill, you mean like at the same alongside, or it was?
Basically, yeah. There's where our shop is, just the other side of that. There was the kilns for drying the wood.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Are there synergies between sawmilling and paving, or?
At that time, there was, because the steam that was used to run the kilns was also used to heat the liquid asphalt tanks.
Ah.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. And was
That's such a long time ago.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Well before my time.
right. No, I understand. Was that Canfor,
No,
or was that? It was a different. That was Canfor was on a different site here.
I believe it was Capilano Timber.
Okay. Okay. And how long have you been with the company?
Off and on since the 70s.
Okay.
So it's a family-owned enterprise.
Okay.
So at the time, my dad and his partners owned the business. They bought it from Commonwealth Construction in 1970.
Okay. Okay. And could you tell us a little bit about the work that you've started doing here and now as the president, you know, with your trajectory?
The path that I took?
The path that you took, yes.
Well, the path that I took was during the summer vacations in my schooling years,
Mm-hmm.
I would work in the business, typically in the concrete division.
Mm-hmm.
So placing curbs and gutters.
Mm-hmm.
And once I graduated high school, I went to Simon Fraser University to get my undergrad,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a co-op education. So at that time, I was working in industry, and the industry I was in was IT.
Oh, okay.
So I worked for BC Systems Corp., which is long since passed,
Mm-hmm.
Honeywell Information Systems, which is long since passed,
Mm-hmm.
and once I graduated from SFU's co-op program, I came back to Winvan
Mm-hmm.
and worked as an estimator.
Okay.
And I worked in various different estimating roles, project management roles, and management roles up until 2005 when I became the president general manager.
Okay. 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 What if you could, tell us a little bit about how Winvan uses the river?
Our primary use of the river is to transport materials.
Okay.
So the majority of the materials that we transport is from a quarry up the river at Cox Station in Abbotsford. And we use that for our manufacturing and also retail aggregates.
Okay.
So does that mean, like, I'm particularly curious about how, like, if you're working with a tug team, like, how does that relationship work? Like, do you have, I don't presume you have barges, but maybe you do, I don't know.
No, the materials are supplied on a barge.
Mm-hmm.
A barge is like a truck. It's just
Yeah.
a vehicle for moving. We don't have
Yeah.
barges,
Yeah.
but the tow company does. So C-SPAN right now is the tug company, and it's their barge.
Yeah.
The material gets loaded up at the quarry,
Mm-hmm.
and then they bring it down river to us.
Hmm.
Then we
Okay.
take the empty barge back up for
Okay.
reloading.
So it's like a courier service, kind of, like
It's
you
like a
call
delivery
them up,
service.
Delivery. You call them up and say, we need,
We coordinate it through a supplier.
okay,
So the supplier knows when their dock is available,
right.
because you have to actually have a place to park it once you've got it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you have your own dock out here?
Yes,
Yes.
we have a dock and a ramp.
Okay. How does I watch the barges going up and down the river, and we never actually watch them
Yeah.
being loaded or unloaded. Could you
Exactly.
explain to us how that works?
Well, our facility has a ramp that goes onto the deck,
Mhm.
so we have a loader that will drive onto the barge and start picking the aggregate up and putting it in dump trucks and hauling it off that way.
Okay.
And so that's the primary way that we
Okay.
offload that.
Uh-huh.
There are other systems out there, but that's the way we do it.
Okay. That's a is that a very old-fashioned sort of system, or is
No,
there?
it's pretty common.
Pretty common. Okay.
And it's the way we load the barge is the reverse. The truck's back onto the barge and dump, and the
Mm-hmm.
loader piles it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then once the barge has got enough material on it, then the tugboat takes it away.
Okay. So are you taking material out of here on a barge too?
Yeah, that's another use of our ramp is to load materials onto a barge or equipment
Mm-hmm.
and then ship it to a job site that's on the water,
Oh, okay.
like an island.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay. What's the geographical range of the work that you do?
The construction work that we do is typically just the Greater Vancouver area.
Okay.
We do some work up the Sea to Sky corridor, but mostly it's just the GVA.
Okay. Have you done recent jobs in New Westminster? Yes, no?
Like the work around the Anvil Center, maybe?
Yeah, maybe, yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, that would be,
see,
yeah, see,
yeah.
I mean, see, we wouldn't, as, just the general public, that's not the kind of thing we actually, maybe you had a sign up, but we don't actually notice it, maybe?
Look at the equipment.
Ah, okay,
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah, we paved all the roads around there,
okay,
did the
Wow.
concrete work around it.
okay, the sidewalks, or other, the curbs,
sidewalks.
sidewalks,
Yeah.
okay, but not the concrete work in the construction of the building?
Not in
No.
the actual structure, no.
Okay, okay. Okay. And does asphalt get recycled?
Yes,
And you do that here on site?
yes.
Yes. And what's the sort of the basic process? I mean, how does it get reused? And
Well, there's different sources of recycled asphalt products.
mm-hmm.
The one source is it's part of the manufacturing, it's just byproduct from the manufacturing,
Mm-hmm.
and we have that as a stockpile that we process.
Mhm.
Another one is old asphalt pavement that's on the road,
Mm-hmm.
and we mill it up
Mm-hmm.
and bring it in. And another process is chunks of asphalt that's on the road,
Mm-hmm.
and we bring that in. And we stockpile those materials, then we crush them.
Mhm.
We have an impact crusher which breaks the matrix but tries not to fracture the aggregates,
Mhm.
so it loosens up the pavement, and then we reintroduce it back into our manufacturing process.
Okay. And, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if there's people or companies that say, hey, can you come get our asphalt, or do you seek out, like, is there lots of it out there?
There's lots of it out there. There's probably more asphalt available than there is places to put it.
Hmm. Hmm.
In an urban setting, you don't build more roads. You keep rehabilitating existing infrastructure.
Mhm.
So when a road starts to fail, we remove the asphalt pavement, we rectify the failure, and then we pave it back.
Mhm.
And when we recycle, we can recycle up to probably about 30%, 35%. But municipal owners are reticent right now to include that much recycle in their products.
Why?
So we're limited to their envelope as far as how much wrap is
Mhm.
included.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they reluctant to, does it fail sooner? Or?
It's not so much that it fails sooner, it's just the engineering side of it is not that well understood yet in this marketplace. And so industry and owners are working together now to try to find ways to better include that product.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what happens to the 65% that you can't reuse in
65 to
or
90%.
Yeah. Yes.
We try to reintroduce that as a gravel substitute.
Okay.
So we'll mix it up with old concrete that comes off that same right of way,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll crush that up and try and make it what we call an urban gravel, but it's basically a gravel that's composed of recycled asphalt, some aggregate products, and concrete recycled.
Mm-hmm. And is that used for road beds, or is it used for?
It has limited use as well.
Mhm.
We get more application on private sites with that than we
Mhm.
do with on roadways. Once again, municipalities, cities are still concerned about the impact of using that material.
Okay.
The impact being just the longevity or safety.
Durability is probably not a huge concern because asphalt and concrete are made with the highest aggregate value or highest quality aggregates that are available.
Mhm.
So you're not going to get a lot of failure, structural failure because of that. But they're also the other binder in there is the Portland cement or the asphalt,
Mhm.
liquid asphalt, and the concern there is the environmental impact that may have if there's
Right.
a water main break and it washes out.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. So they're worrying about leaching or.
They're worried about transferring those unwanted products into a water course.
Okay. Okay. What do you think? Do you think that's a legitimate concern?
I think that we always have to be careful with what we do to the environment, so we need to study that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And industry once again is working with owners to do that. So
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you have chemists or other or environmental scientists on site? No. Okay. All right. But you're part of an industry group that does, or? All right.
No, there's
Okay.
let's see, the people that would do the testing would be environmental consultants.
Okay.
So there's geotechnical consultants. There's testing labs
Mm-hmm.
that are independent of industry and owners,
Mm-hmm.
and they would carry out the testing.
Okay.
So you would get a valid third-party result
Okay.
and recommendation.
Okay.
I just wanted to get clear on, I'm really curious, you mentioned the Abbotsford Quarry, and I don't know if what kind of material exactly? Is it one thing that's being sent down by barge?
Aggregates that we use to make asphalt have different gradations. So there's different profiles. So the aggregate in the quarry is drilled, blasted, and crushed, and then they size it into different types of products.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's composed of the same material.
Okay.
It just has a different gradation.
Hmm.
So the geological structure that they go into is granite,
Okay.
and the physical properties that they have are all virtually the same.
Right.
It's just the gradation.
Okay. We were walking by sort of the operations out there, and I was wondering if you could explain just what's happening right now out there. Like, I mean, you've probably got trucks out, I don't know, but just kind of the breadth of what's happening today.
What's happening today? We run several crews that are doing site work grading,
Okay.
road grade prep, and so those crews would be using excavators, backhoes, compactors, graders, dozers, that kind of equipment, and we would be delivering materials to the job site, such as road-based materials, a 3-inch minus or a 3/4 inch minus road-based materials, and removing materials that aren't desirable to be on site by truck
Okay.
to dump sites. So dump trucks come and go from the job sites with materials on for delivery, or they take waste material away and dispose of it at a dump site. We also have 2 milling crews that go out to different streets, locations, and mill the asphalt down. We have 4 concrete crews that go out and put down curb and gutters and sidewalks at different locations. And then we have 3 paving crews that do the asphalt paving. This site here is the central hub for our business, so we have on-site, we have materials for all of those operations, so supplies and materials. We buy ready-mix from another supplier, so we don't have ready-mix concrete, but we manufacture the asphalt. So what you're hearing right now is the asphalt plant running.
Okay.
And so the operation that's occurring out there now is loaders are picking up gravel from sorted stockpile areas, and they're putting it into particular feed bins for the plant. And those feed bins then proportion the sizing of the aggregates to come up with a mix that we're trying to make for the asphalt pavement that we're replacing. So it's like a recipe.
A
that we've got.
recipe. Yeah.
And then we have tanks for liquid asphalt that are heated, and we inject a certain amount of liquid asphalt with the dried aggregates to create the asphalt pavement. And then once that pavement's manufactured, it goes into a temporary storage system called silos. And then when a truck comes by, it just loads the truck up, and the truck then takes it to the job site where the paving crew is waiting for it to be delivered.
And I don't know a lot about this, but I'm wondering, when the asphalt comes out of the sort of the finished stuff comes out and it's shipped away, like, what kind of consistency is it? Like, I only think of concrete. It's like it takes time to set, and I just don't know.
Asphalt's hot.
Okay, so
So it's like 300 degrees
Yeah.
Fahrenheit,
yeah.
about 150 degrees Celsius. So the look of the material is like a gravel that you would have for the roadway, but it's got asphalt all mixed within it.
Okay.
So it's not wet.
Right.
It's dry gravel that's got liquid asphalt throughout it to cover all the particles. So the consistency is, it's a little thicker, if you will, than, say, gravel. If you were to take it and just pour it over, gravel will just run out. The asphalt will not run as easy. The cooler it gets,
Yeah.
the stiffer it gets.
That's what I was sort of imagining. So, I mean, if you're transporting it, is there a time?
Yes, it's
Crunch?
got a shelf life.
Yeah.
Typically, you wouldn't want to be placing it more than 3 hours after you've actually loaded it in the truck.
Okay.
So it limits the range that you've got
Yeah,
for,
really.
Okay.
for operations.
Okay. Do you have other plants, or is this the,
We have just one asphalt plant.
okay,
There are companies that have several,
right, okay, okay.
and some that have many, many.
Right, right, yes, okay.
And are all the equipment you mentioned that are out at various job sites, is that all in van, or do you contract any of that out at all? Like trucks, or you mentioned?
Most of the equipment that we use is pretty specific to what we do,
Okay.
and it's not a very common piece of equipment. The more common pieces of equipment, like a rubber tire backhoe, we would rent that from somebody who is an owner operator.
Mm-hmm.
And dump trucks, we have some of those ourselves,
Mhm.
but then we have others that come in that are owner operators.
Okay.
But most of the equipment that we have on the job sites, like graders and pavers and rollers, curb machines,
Okay.
that's all our equipment.
Yeah.
Do you share your dock facilities with anybody else, or rent them out to any other companies, or is that all in?
No, we make it available.
Okay.
Hmm.
How often does that happen?
Usually, not that many times a year.
Okay.
I would say if we did about a half a dozen of those.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's a customer like C-SPAN
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
coming up with a barge
Mm-hmm.
that they want to have repaired. So
okay.
they would come to our dock, and they would have it to a state where they would like us to resurface the top of it.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So
Okay.
we would just do that right here.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. How many employees do you have?
We're running, it's a seasonal business.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 25 salaried employees,
Mhm.
26.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll be running just over 100 hourly seasonal employees.
Okay.
Hmm. I didn't know it was seasonal.
I
Okay.
wouldn't have thought so here, but
Huh.
okay.
Do you see a lot of paving in January?
No, but you can't do it because it's raining, or you can't do it because it's cold?
Yes.
Both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's specifications for placing asphalt or concrete is that you can't do it on a frozen grade. You
Okay.
can't have standing water,
Okay.
and you have to have certain temperatures that you've got to work within.
Right.
So
Okay.
when it's February and it's -3 degrees out, it's
Okay.
just rained for the last week,
Okay.
you just can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And does that seasonality affect your work? You know, I guess, or the office generally? Like,
No.
it's no. Okay.
I mean, the office staff have lots of things to do,
Yeah.
and there's lots of things that when we're busy in the summertime that we
Mhm.
just don't get to.
Right.
And then when things change, the
Hmm.
tempo changes, and they just move their projects around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh. That's neat. I have a question I just wanted to go back to, and you can answer as much or as little as you want, but you mentioned something we were talking about, you being situated here on the waterfront, and you mentioned the politics of the waterfront, like that it's, certain people want to see recreation and residential, a lot of people want to see industry, and I don't know if you are willing to talk about something in that realm for you and how it might affect your work.
The highest and best use for real estate is probably a path that most jurisdictions should look at. Within this province, we have land that's been reserved for agricultural purposes
Mm-hmm.
because of the profile of that property, that land, and its ability to grow crops.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to look at your industrial base along the same ways.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think if you were to change all the land uses to be recreational and for residential purposes, you wouldn't have an economic base to work from, and you wouldn't have a local food source to work from.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a balance that needs to be struck, and it's nice to have waterfront parks, it's nice to have linear parks, and it's also nice to have jobs that can pay for people paying their property taxes, paying for their park upkeep, I mean, it's a cycle that you have to look at.
Mhm.
So when we look at the best use for that real estate, we have to realize that sometimes we can't just have it all for my own purposes. It has to be for the better of the region.
Mhm.
And so taking a parochial look at it sometimes isn't the best way to do it.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to see how things work in the whole. Port Metro Vancouver is a huge port.
Mhm.
It's the largest in Canada,
Mhm.
second largest on the west coast. It's a huge economic driver for this community and this region.
Mhm.
And if we choose to ignore the value that that presents us, all the other, in quotation mark, green jobs will disappear
Mhm.
because there is no stable, fundamental economic driver that's supporting all the other industries.
Mhm. Mhm. Are you affected by the shutdown of the Bailey Bridge?
Yes.
Yes. What would you like? I know how it's been resolved.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see the city of New Westminster sit down with its colleagues and solve the regional issue, which is the biggest problem.
Mhm.
So if you look at the Burnett corridor,
Mhm.
where it interfaces with Port Mann Highway 1 and Lowmead Highway, that's really where the problem is.
Mhm.
So if they were to change, that interchange wasn't really modified much.
Mhm.
It was dressed up a little bit,
Mhm.
but that interchange needs to be reconstructed
Mhm.
properly. And so the city of New Westminster needs to sit down with its counterparts in the city of Coquitlam,
Mhm.
with the Ministry of Transportation, with Transport Canada,
Mhm.
with Port Metro Vancouver, with, and you can just sort of see the list
Mhm.
growing because
Mhm.
of all the users there.
Right.
They need to sit down and establish what needs to be done there to improve that bottleneck.
Mhm.
Because people only use that Bailey Bridge because the main route isn't working.
Right.
And so right now, where the city of New Westminster is they basically want to dig in their heels because nobody really wants to come to the table to have that discussion.
Mhm.
And there is a real need for them to sit down at the table and to put that together. But, you know, inter-municipal relationships right now isn't very high.
Mhm.
So that, you know, the results of them wanting to do that is going to be, they have a lot of work to do to reestablish that connection.
Okay. And so, so you're in favor of 2 lanes, or no, or it doesn't really matter is if they were to fix the interchange.
So that Bailey Bridge issue is a distraction, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
So fix the main problem, which is the Burnett corridor,
Okay.
where it intersects with Braid Street, then it
Mhm.
goes to the Portman Highway 1, Lowmead Highway,
Mhm.
Blue Mountain. All that whole area
Right.
is
right.
bollocksed up,
Right.
and that's why people go and use the Bailey Bridge.
Mhm.
Fix the main corridor, and the Bailey Bridge can be 1 lane. I don't care.
Okay. Okay.
2 lanes
Okay.
is preferable because, you know,
Mhm.
most times when you build a road in this urban setting, you
Right.
put at least 1 lane each way.
Right. Right.
So that only makes sense.
Mhm. Mhm.
And for us down here, there's a train that cuts us off
Yeah.
both
Right.
sides.
Ah, yes.
So when those really long trains come through, we can't get out of here.
You get stuck in here. Okay.
And there was a Saturday several months ago now that a train had covered both crossings and the engine broke down.
Oh.
And they blocked off this area for 8 hours.
Oh. And there is no other way out, or there is, but it's not really accessible.
There are no public roadways
Right.
out of here except for Braid Street and Spruce Street.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. I know that TransLink backed away from the North Fraser Perimeter Road. Would that do you have any thoughts about how that might have helped or hindered or been?
I don't know that they've backed away from the North Fraser perimeter road. I
Mhm.
don't know if it's theirs to
Okay.
promote or not promote.
Okay.
I know they backed away from the UBE.
Oh, yes,
the
yes.
United Boulevard extension.
Right.
And that was a solution for getting traffic out of this area without interfering with trains
Mm,
or having the trains interfere with the traffic.
right,
So there was an elevated crossing over top of the train tracks.
right.
The problem with that project was that it brought traffic into and out of New Westminster at one side of New Westminster, the eastern, northeastern portion,
Mhm.
but it didn't deal with the flow through the city and out the southwest portion.
Mhm. Okay. Do you feel like this Braid Industrial District is safe as an industrial district, or does it feel like it's under pressure to deindustrialize?
Well, we don't control land use
Mm-hmm.
and land use planning. That's the municipality or the city.
Mm-hmm.
So the city of New West controls what zoning is down here. Port Metro Vancouver also controls zoning and access to industry or
Mm-hmm.
whatever land uses are. So within their properties, they can control what goes on.
Mm-hmm.
So Port Metro Vancouver, for instance, owns Canfor lands.
Right.
So on that parcel, they can decide whether it's going to be transloading
Mhm.
facilities or warehouses like what happened over Interfor,
Mm-hmm.
or they can have industry on there.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever suits their needs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was talk about waste to energy generation plant there.
Right. I remember
And-
that.
And so I don't know where that stands right now. I know Metro Vancouver Waste Management is looking at options for waste to energy.
Mm-hmm.
And whether that parcel is still to be considered, I don't know.
Okay. Do you have a preference to what they?
I'm sure that whatever they choose,
Mm-hmm.
they will make sure that it complies with regulations for environmental, for safety,
Mm-hmm.
for infrastructure, for access in and out,
Mhm.
safe.
Mm-hmm.
Safe transportation is access is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very close to Port Mann Highway 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's really close to most of the arterial
Mm-hmm.
and highway routes through the region. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of benefit to having something there without driving it through neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was really interested in what you said about, industry being such an important economic driver, because I think of it mostly in relation to farmland and what I've been working on. So I wondered if generally you feel, along the Fraser, I guess specifically, if there's enough industry, or like it's kind of the same question, but do you feel like it's shrinking too fast? Because I know a lot of farmers would definitely say the ALR is, so I'm just interested in that parallel.
If you look at the history of the province of British Columbia, it's not a manufacturing or an industry-based economy. It's basically a resource-based
Yeah.
economy. So as much as we like to have green jobs and we want to have a perfectly clean world,
Mm-hmm.
those things in your iPad, you know, they come from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And somebody has to extract the resource and has to move it to where they manufacture and upgrade it
Mm-hmm.
to usable products, and then they go to some place where they manufacture those iPads.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So hydroelectric power, it's good not to worry about where the water is and where the dam, you know, what land got covered with the water that's creating your green electricity,
Mm-hmm.
but somewhere it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at all those different resources that we have within the province, if we were to shut them all down and say we don't want to do that anymore,
Mm-hmm.
you'd have to reinvent the whole economy.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's anybody here that has the answer to that question. So there needs to be access for industry to be on the water.
Yeah.
We have a huge shipping component to our economy. So we take goods from BC and we ship them offshore, but not very many. We take many more goods from offshore and import them into BC and the rest of Canada and North America. This is a gateway down to the States as well.
Yeah.
So, and we ship a lot of resources out of this province to overseas and down south. So it seems to me that if that's your economic driver, that you want to respect that, you want to protect it. So if you're doing land use planning, it's good to have some recreational area, that's fine. But you're going to also have some industrial areas and some port areas.
Okay. Do you participate in any forums that are about solving your, the transportation bottlenecks that you see, or protecting riverfront industrial land, or anything like that?
I participate in the Port Metro Vancouver planning sessions when they come out. I'm a member of the New Westminster Chamber of Commerce. Wind and Paving is a member of the BC Road Builders.
Okay.
So we have different avenues we're also a member of the VRCA, which is part of the Canadian Construction Association, the BC Construction Association.
Okay.
And the local one is called the Vancouver Regional Construction Association.
Okay.
So we have different ways of interacting
Okay.
at different levels of government.
Okay. Do you interact with city council or in any way?
As part of the Bray Business Association, which is the local one down here, there's been opportunities to deal with the city of New Westminster, and we've expressed our concerns about several different issues. One of them is public safety for our employees down here typically, also for our assets down here. Secondly was access to transit.
Okay. Actually, I want to ask you.
And the third thing was transportation of goods and services.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about access to transit, because I guess TransLink has opened the emergency stairs
Well, there
from
was
the Saperton SkyTrain station, but
there was a gentleman's agreement around that. I say that gentleman's in a PC way. We agreed to not raise the issue any higher than what we did, and they agreed to let that door kind of sort of be open. And the understanding is you go up to the platform, you go get your ticket, then you go stand on the platform, wait for a train. Right now they're doing an upgrade to that area for, I think, the Compass card access. So how that will work, I don't know. If you can only have a Compass card to get access to it, then it'll be interesting, because then we'll be back to the same position where we've got people playing Frogger across Brunette to get to the other side, so they can come back across again to where the station is.
Okay. Did somebody get killed? Is that not crossing there? Okay. All right.
I'm sure somebody has.
But you're not aware of any specific incident that
No.
that led to them opening that gate. Okay. I think we're all going to have Compass cards soon, but
Won't do me
with the
any good.
no.
Yeah.
Coming from Aldergrove, it's kind of tough.
Oh, I'm in Aldergrove too. That's funny. Yeah. It's a long drive. I think it's a long drive, but I guess you're used to it.
Do you come across the Patello Bridge?
I do both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So would rerouting the Patello Bridge through Saperton Bar help you, hurt you?
not too sure. I mean, the traffic engineers have to look at that and come
Mhm.
up with how that would change the way
Mhm.
movements are. But
Mhm.
the, I'm pretty sure that that option is way too expensive,
Mhm.
and it goes through a real and sensitive environmental area, which is the sapling bar itself.
Mhm. Okay.
So I think that's been set aside for an environmental offset
Mhm.
for wetlands.
Okay.
So that will be a really difficult approach,
Mhm.
I think.
Mhm.
The most natural alignment is relatively close to where it's at now.
Mhm.
The proposed will be in that same kind of alignment.
Right.
And if you look at upgrading the infrastructure between where the Patello Bridge is north of Botman, which is this side,
Mhm.
to the freeway at Stormont, which is just off of
Right.
Caribou,
Right.
there is an alignment that's already been sort of forged out as as a direct connection between the Patello Bridge and the Highway 1.
Okay.
And so if that alignment was to be properly built and to protect neighborhoods, and
Mhm.
there's ways of doing that,
Mhm.
then you would be able to take a lot of traffic from the upgraded Patello Bridge and put them on to the Highway 1.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. You mentioned your concerns with worker safety. Here, could you expand on that a little bit?
A lot of workers down here actually use transit,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of workers walk.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been, I don't know the status of it right now, but there has been a substantial homeless group down here
Mm-hmm.
living in the bushes
Mm-hmm.
along the rail tracks.
Right.
So they also are the source of a lot of petty crime that goes on down here,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't know if that'll transfer over to personal crimes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So our concern has been, especially coming into the fall and winter and early spring season, when you've got dark in the morning and dark at night,
Mhm.
people coming and going to work in the dark, makes them more of a prime target.
Mm. Okay.
So public safety was for those that were walking from transit
Mm-hmm.
to their place. There's no bus that comes down here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and the bus doesn't come down here because it's so unpredictable as to how long it will take to do the route.
Right. Right.
So the concern is that if you got no transit down here and
Mhm.
people are walking,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to walk, but let's have some
Mhm.
public safety
Mm-hmm.
aspects to it.
Yeah.
So that means having proper walkways, it means having proper lighting, it means having clear crosswalks, it means also having police presence.
Right.
And police presence in industrial areas is usually pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So the industry pays a huge amount of taxes
Mm-hmm.
and gets probably the least amount of services
Okay.
from a city.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, would you have the city put in sidewalks and?
Oh, they've been building walkways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And I mean, do you think? I mean, I get the impression that you think it would be a good idea to have a formal access to the Sapperton Sky train from this side. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What do you see that as a possibility?
Well, they're making that entrance.
They are making it into a real.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you have to have a card, I think. I don't
Okay.
know how they're going to make it work,
Okay.
but if you have a compass card, I think
Right.
it'll allow
Okay.
you to go in.
Okay.
If you don't have a compass card, I'm not too sure what the options are.
Okay. Okay. So okay.
There is no elevator, so
But there is no elevator,
Yeah.
or escalator, or it's the fire escape stairs, yeah.
yeah, accessibility is an issue there
Mhm.
because of the trains and
Mhm.
the right of ways that they have.
Mhm.
So, and there's a big mechanical room there as well.
Okay.
So right underneath the station, they've got a substantial mechanical room for, I think, their electrical
Okay.
communication systems.
Okay.
So I don't know if they've got room anywhere in their footprint to put an
Mm.
elevator.
Okay. Okay. Were you here when that station opened?
Yes.
Yes. Was there any, do you recall if there was any talk about, building in an access then?
You know, I can't recall clearly
Okay.
what, I know there was talk
Okay.
about it,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe that between the city of New Westminster, TransLink, and the train,
Mm-hmm.
the rail companies,
Mm-hmm.
I think they agreed to disagree that there would be access here.
Okay. 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 Do you have other questions?
Just coming to mind when we were talking about safety, like of course there's hard hats and full.
Orange vests and
Yeah, out
yeah.
here in terms of safety, just on the site, is it an issue or is it standard procedure to have hard hats on a sort of a site like this?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's a certain personal protective equipment, PPE, that you're supposed to wear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them is CSA boots,
Mhm.
steel-toed
Yeah.
boots, work boots, high-vis vests,
Mhm.
and an approved hard hat.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I have just one more question. I wondered, and I know you've been very generous with your time. Does Winban have working relationships or with the other businesses in the industrial district?
Yes, there's an association that
Mm-hmm.
represents our,
Mm-hmm.
the Braid industrial area, our
Okay.
businesses down here.
Okay.
And so, particularly when we dealt with the Bailey Bridge issue
Mm-hmm.
and public safety issue
Mm-hmm.
and access to transit.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the three things that we really, as a group,
Mm-hmm.
have been speaking to the city about.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any other questions?
No,
Okay.
that's great.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes.